जमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना जमुना तीरा वनचारी। जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा, प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपः कुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. This morning we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4th, entitled The Creation of Fourth Order, Chapter 14, The Story of King Vena, Text 43. Vinishitya evam rishaya vipannasya mahipate mamanthur urum tarasa tatrasi bahuko nara विनिश्चित्य विनिश्चित्येवं ऋषया विनिश्चित्यैवं ऋषया विपन्नस्य महीपते विपन्नस्य महीपते ममन्थुरुरुं तरसा ममन्थुरुरुं तरसा तत्रासीद्बाहुको नरा तत्रासीद्बाहुको नरा विनिश्चित्यैवं ऋषयो विपन्नस्य महीपते ममन्थुरुरुं तरसा तत्रासीद्बाहुको नरा विनिश्चित्यैवं ऋषयो विपन्नस्य महीपते ममन्थुरुरुं तरसा तत्रासीद्बाहुको नरा. Please recite. विनिश्चित्यैवं ऋषयो महीपते तरसा तत्रासीद्बाहुको नरः. विनिश्चित्यैवं ऋषयो विपन्नस्य महीपते ममन्थुरुरुं तरसा तत्रासीद्बाहुको नरः. विनिश्चित्यैवं ऋषयो ममन्थुरुरुं तरसा तत्रासीद्बाहुको नरः. Anybody from Vaishnavis? We'll see word to word meaning. Vinishchitya, deciding. Evam, thus. Rishaya, the great sages. Vipannasya, dead. Mahipate of the king. Mamantu churned. Urum the thighs. Tarasa with specific power. Tatra thereupon. Asit was born. Bahuka of the name Bahuka. Dwarf. Nara a person. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. After making a decision, the saintly persons and the sages churned the thighs of the dead body of the king with great force and according to a specific method. As a result of this churning, a dwarf like person was born from King Vena's body. Please recite the translation in response. After making a decision, the saintly persons and sages churned the thighs of the dead body of King Vena with great force and according to a specific method. As a result of this churning, a dwarf like person was born from King Vena's body. Purport. That a person was born by the churning of the thighs of King Vena proves that the spirit soul is individual and separate from the body. The great sages and saintly persons could beget another person from the body of the dead King Vena, but it was not possible for them to bring King Vena back to life. King Vena was gone, and certainly he had taken another body. The saintly persons and sages were only concerned with the body of the Vena because it was the result of the seminal succession in the family of Maharaj Dhruva. Consequently, the ingredients by which another body could be produced were there in the body of King Vena. By a certain process, with the thighs, when the thighs of the dead body were churned, another body came out. Although dead, the body of King Vena was preserved by drugs and mantras chanted by King Vena's mother. In this way, the ingredients for the production of another body were there. When the body of the person named Bahuka came out of the dead body of the King Vena, it was really not very astonishing. It was simply a question of knowing how to do it. From the semen of one body, another body is produced, and the life symptoms are visible due to the soul's taking shelter of this body. One should not think that it was impossible for another body to come out of the dead body of Maharaj Vena. This was performed by skillful action of the sages. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So in this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, we are seeing a very special incident that is happening. So in the past, we have seen that King Vena, being son of Sunita, if I am not wrong, Sunita being the daughter of dead personified, he acquires the quality from his mother's lineage. And because of that inappropriate lineage, Vena performs many sinful activities. So much so that the great sages have to feel that there is no good in his living. And the great sages decide that it is better that King Vena die than he remain alive. Because King Vena, if he would have been alive, even if he is just dethroned from the kingship, it would have been difficult to handle him. Doing so many atrocities, trying to change the process of sacrifices, telling people that I am Supreme Personality of Godhead. These are very, very demoniac activities. So finally, the great sages felt that it is better that he die than he lives. So it is believed that a sinful person, it is better that he dies than lives. So, however, they thought that killing Vena was a solution, but still, that did not solve the problem of them. Initially, the sages felt that we will enthrone King Vena so that the problem will be solved. There is no king. And then by enthroning Vena, they thought that the problem will be solved. Then they thought that when the king is doing atrocities, they thought that better kill King Vena than making him alive. So when they killed the King Vena also, the problem was not solved, because without the king also atrocities increased. The thieves increased, the plunderers increased. There is no body to monitor whether the religious activities are taking place or not, like that. So then now they are trying to come up with a better solution. The solution is what? That they prayed to Supreme Lord to appear. And by the divine power of the sages, they understood that the process of making Supreme Lord appear is by churning the body of Vena. Although it is not explicitly mentioned that how they came to this conclusion, that by churning the body of Vena, we will see that Supreme Lord is appearing. Generally, Supreme Lord appears by performing of Vedic sacrifices. Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ji ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki. So generally, a Supreme Lord appears when people perform Vedic sacrifices. So Supreme Lord appears along with the demigods. So it is surprising that the great sages have very specific understanding of how to do something. See, these great sages also, they know that we will call Supreme Personality of Godhead only when the atrocities become intolerable. When sages have minor problems, they just don't go to Supreme Lord. Only when they feel that these atrocities or the situation cannot be solved by our own endeavors, that is the time when they decide, okay, let's go to the Supreme Lord. Hmm. So that's how these great sages relate with the Supreme Lord. Hmm. If the great sages would have immediately saying that when Anga has left the kingdom, they could have said, okay, now we want Supreme Lord only. Hmm. So the sages tried amongst themselves how to save an impending danger. But when they saw that we are not able to solve ourselves, then they go to the next level. Mm. The same thing applies for the demigods also. That when the demoniac people try to attack them, they try to defend, they try to protect themselves. But only when they feel that this is beyond us, that is the time when they go to Supreme Lord or the higher demigods like Brahma and Shiva. Mm. We also see when Bali Maharaj was attacking and conquering the Sargalokas, mm, the demigods had no other shelter. They tried to go and hide somewhere else. Mm. They tried to seek some other place to live. But when they saw that there is no other place, Bali Maharaj has become so powerful that there is no place for us to stay. Wherever we go, we are just being harassed and removed. So that is the time they go to the Supreme Lord. Mm. So we should appreciate that these sages have sought the shelter of Supreme Lord to solve the problem. Now, uh, this also shows that the sages have that power, that if they want, they can kill a person just by their desire. That is something very special. Mm. Even Supreme Lord has that power, but very rarely we'll see that Supreme Lord hasn't done anything like that. Just by Supreme Lord desiring somebody, somebody has died. Supreme Lord takes weapon. He makes the whole incident of he killing some demons very graphic. Hmm. Just like when Supreme Lord wanted to kill Shishupal, it is so graphic that Supreme Lord took chakra and cut the head of Shishupal. So, however, these great sages were very powerful, and now, with their own power, they have decided that the Supreme Lord should be appearing by this process. Hmm. And at the same time, they wanted to respect the lineage in which this king Vena was born, but was not up to the mark. Although he was born in a very great saintly person, he was not up to the mark. Hmm. So now they have thought that we will decide. They have decided that the seminal succession of Dhruv Maharaj or Anga should continue. Hmm. And another surprising fact is, rather, it is lucky that by the time the great sages decided, the body was still preserved. Generally, when a person dies, his body starts disintegrating very quickly. His blood, his other bodily limbs start degrading very, very quickly. Hmm. So that is the reason why even medical science feels great difficulty in preserving the body, even for 1 day or even for 2 day. They have some mechanical arrangement by which they want to control the temperature, or by giving some artificial chemical injections, they want to preserve the body. Mm. Mm. So here in the modern science, they want to preserve the body not because that they want to churn and bring out something good out of it, because there is no person to perform final rites, or there is some legal complications on that body. That is the reason why they want to preserve that body. Mm. So, however, Sunita, being mother of Vena, was very attached to Vena. So she could not fathom the fact that my son is dead, and she wanted to preserve that body. Although Bhagavatam does not mention so specifically the reason, but naturally the reason is attachment. She was too attached to Vena that to let go. Imagine somebody dies and the final rites are not performed. It is considered very, very inauspicious. Now, however, uh, somehow by the arrangement of the Lord, the Vena's body was available. And these great sages knew how from this dead body a living body can be generated. Generally, the natural or the So by the arrangement of the Supreme Lord, the combination of man and woman generally produces the next body. This is what generally happens in the earthly planetary systems. But the Supreme Lord is exception to this process. Not just Supreme Lord, even the great saintly persons are exception to this process. Just like when Parashar Muni was crossing by the place where Satyavati was staying. So Parashar Muni had a prophecy that you will bring forth a great personality who will compose all the Vedic literature. And at the right time, Parashar Muni was told that you will be, what do you say, made through this prophecy that you will bring forth a very great personality. So when Parashar Muni was crossing by and when he saw Satyavati, he understood that through her I am supposed to beget a child who will be a very great personality. So when Parashar Muni saw Satyavati, and it is not described that there was any physical intercourse between them. Parashar Muni saw Satyavati and he just gave Vyasa to Satyavati. So imagine how that would happen just by looking at somebody. You just manifest a body, and not just body, a very great saintly person, Vyasa. And Parashar Muni left to saying Satyavati that this is the prophecy that we both were supposed to bring forth a very great personality. This is it in a very short span of time. And Satyavati was surprised. She was not even married. She was not even ready to beget her children. She was told that your children is born suddenly. So she left Vyasa, saying that I cannot take care of you. What will I tell that I am not married and suddenly I have a child? So then Vyasa left to the great Himalayas and he meditated. So this process is there. Parashar Muni know the process that just by looking at somebody and by mental conception they can produce children. Not just great sages had this strength. If they wanted, they could have given this strength to somebody else. Like for example, when Durvasa Muni came to not Hastinapur, this father, Kunti Maharani's father's place, and when Durvasa Muni was very nicely served by Kunti, so Kunti asked for a benediction. Durvasa asked Kunti that please ask some benediction, and Kunti was very intelligent enough in asking, you are Trikalagya. You can see what is in past, what is in present, what is in future. So you only decide what is good for me in future and you give me that benediction. Such an intelligent lady, Right? If somebody would have asked a lady that asked some benediction, she could have asked anything. But she so intelligently asked, you know what is good for me in future, what is beneficial, what is, what is that I will need in future, you give me that benediction. So Durvasa Muni gave a very strange benediction to Kunti Maharani. That on a particular day, by chanting few mantras, if you meditate on a particular personality, you will beget a child from him, by that personality. So Kunti Maharani was not so matured enough to really fathom the kind of great benediction she got. So for the sake of just testing, she chanted those mantras. She meditated on Surya Dev. She was also a devotee of Surya Dev. She meditated on Surya Dev. And Surya Dev suddenly comes and directly gives karna. Right? There is no mention that there was any physical intercourse there also. When Surya appeared, it is described that Kunti Maharani couldn't see Surya because of his teja. And it is described that her eyes were like closed only. She couldn't see Surya at all. But she conversed with Surya. She told that I was just testing the mantra. Surya said, testing is not allowed. I came means I have to give benediction. So he gave karna and left. And Kunti was surprised with this fact that children can be produced like this also. Right? So, only by now, in this age or in this planetary system, there is an arrangement that there is man and woman unite and then children are produced. But a different process can be processed at some other place. Like when Brahma was born, first of all, Brahma also born just from the navel of Supreme Lord. There was no Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi ji uniting, and then Brahma was born. Brahma was just born. And from Brahma also, it is not that Brahma married somebody and then after some time some rishis have born. Not like that. Hmm? All these four Kumaras were born from the mind of Brahma. Hmm? All the great sages, Sapta Rishis, they were born from, they are all Manasaputras. Narada Muni is also a Manasaputras. So, just by the thinking process, they can produce children. Hmm? So, this is something very astonishing. Hmm? So, our own, the research of modern science is very limited to our understanding that whatever we see in our phenomenal life is happening is what is truth. This is what they feel. Hmm? And they feel that there is no truth behind this, beyond this. Hmm? Now, having discussed about the way of producing the new children, of course, here Prabhupada says that there was no way that they could have brought Vena back because Vena was dead. Hmm? But we see the great science behind a person called Shukracharya. Hmm? He was such a great personality that even if somebody would have died, he would have brought them back to the life. Hmm? He had a special pond. Hmm? And in that pond, there was a Sanjeevani water. Hmm? And when the demons used to fight against demigods, and if demigods would have killed a demon, he would have brought that demon, chant mantras, dip that body into the river, water, and he would have brought them alive back. And he would say, again, go and fight. And that same person would have died again, second time, again he would have brought them back alive. Hmm? So, all these specific powers people can have. Like Prabhupada says, that it is not really very astonishing. It is simply a question of knowing how to do it. Hmm? So, by this Bhagavatam lessons, we can understand that our human idea of what reality is very, very tiny, very, very puny. We cannot understand how many science works. Hmm? Even for that matter, thinking that even the natural way of giving birth is what is normal. Hmm? And even that is designed by Supreme Lord in a very special way. Hmm? So, one should know that what we understand from our own experiences may not be the truth. Hmm? Here, just for the sake of keeping the seminal succession of Dhruv Maharaj, from dead body the great sages churned. Hmm? I mean, especially churning is something I don't know. Like, when Samudra Manthan also happened, by churning, something else came out. They were churning the milk ocean, and so many different things came up. Alive, dead, so many. Like, first came up was poison. Another time, they came up so many weapons. Hmm? Even Supreme Lord appeared. Hmm? And then nectar appears. Hmm? So, by churning, uh, something which is not there also can be brought out. Hmm? Just like when we churn the yogurt, milk transformed to curd. If we churn the curd, we will get ghee. Hmm? So, composition wise, saying that the curd and ghee are completely different. Hmm? But by churning, it can happen. It can happen by churning. Hmm? So, here the sages have decided that by churning, whatever is there in Vena, good thing is there in Vena, can be brought out. Hmm? Although initially it may not be that whatever is good inside that body will come out. Hmm? Now we see that by churning of the Venus body, a dwarfed personality called Nishada has come out. Sorry, Bahuka has come out. Hmm? And Bahuka, being in the future verses, it is described what are his physical attributes and what are his class of people. Hmm? So when Bahuka was born, he took care of charge of a lower race of people called Nishadas. Hmm? So to say, this Bahuka was not a great personality. Hmm? Although he was born from the churning of the Venus body only. Hmm? And later when the sages felt that, okay, now again we will churn the arms of the Vena, will bring out Supreme Lord. Hmm? So the sages can do very, very mystical things. It is the sages' discretion, and on how to do things in a very particular way. Hmm? Just like Sunita knew the art of preserving the body by preserving it in some chemicals, is mentioned drugs and other things, and she chanted the mantras also. Hmm? So by same way, by chanting the mantras and by churning the body and using some specific methods, they brought out the Supreme Lord. Hmm? And only when Supreme Lord appeared, the Vena, from the Vena's body, then that is the time when sages were completely satisfied. Saying that now the problems of all our life is solved. Hmm? So, uh, when Supreme Lord appears, he appears with the idea of a specific function. So, in the life of our devotees, also in Krishna consciousness, we may have our own struggles of trying to do something but failing, trying to do something but failing. But only when Krishna appears, just like here, Prithu Maharaj appeared. And Prithu Maharaj appearance is also very special, not just because now he has appeared with, even before the Vena's body was churned and Bahuka appeared. When Prithu Maharaj appeared, he appeared along with his wife, together. So, in one sense, both were, the Supreme Lord's consort was daughter of Vena, and the Supreme Lord was son of Vena. So then again there is our own idea that how son and daughter of the same person can be husband wife. So when that section comes, we'll discuss. However, but the whole idea is that Supreme Lord is transcendental. And only when great saintly persons pray fervently, follow a particular process. It is clearly mentioned in this word called tarasa, meaning with a specific power or with a specific process, the Supreme Lord can appear. So this was the shelter resort of these great saintly persons. It is a simply question of, from the semen of one body, another body can be produced, and the life symptoms are visible due to soul taking that shelter. So the whole idea is when the soul takes the shelter of another body, then another body can be generated. At other times also we know, the guru of Pandavas, his name was Dronacharya. Dronacharya got married to Kripi, sister of Kripacharya. So this Kripacharya and Kripi were also born of a great saintly person, not because of direct physical union, but because of a seminal preservation process. So this science is still not known to people in this modern science. But however, the Bhagavatam gives us examples of various things by which we can understand how the Supreme Lord's pastimes can be very, very special. His appearance, like Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvataha. So, having said that, the Supreme Lord, it is Supreme Lord's discretion and how he wants to appear. In the situation of Krishna's appearance, Krishna appeared in a very special way by appearing in a four-handed form, which is generally humanly not possible, and having appeared with various ayudhas, various weapons, various symbols of the Supreme Lord. But if Supreme Lord wants, he can appear even as a normal child if he likes. Just like in the case of Lord Chaitanya, or in the case of other incarnations of Supreme Lord, he appeared like a normal child. But the whole thing is, his activities and his appearance are completely transcendental. Hmm? So Prithu Maharaj, having appeared in a very transcendental way, and it is not described that he was a small child and it took many years for him to take up the role of a king. Hmm? Generally, what happens when a king decides that who will be the next king, that person who is going to be the next king, having announced that he will be next king, he will also be trained by the existing king for a very long time. Hmm? Just like Shantanu was a king of Hastinapur, when he had decided that uh, Devavrata, his son, who's Bhishma, will be the king. Hmm? So, in one sense, formally or informally, he had announced that he is the king, next king. So, he was training Devavrata in a various science of how to manage this kingship. Hmm? But Supreme Lord did not need any lessons. Although sometimes he acts that I need lessons, he goes to Guru, he acts like Rama also went to Vishwamitra, Krishna went to Sandipani Muni. So he acts in a certain way to teach people, but he remains transcendental. Here, Prithu Maharaj, after appearing, he did not, in a clearly mentioned way, he has not accepted any guru to be learned to be a great saintly king. Hmm. He just appeared and he assumed the role of a king on his own self. Hmm. So much so that when there are discrepancies which were caused because of King Vena, Vena being the king, he removed all those what do you say, anomalies which existed because Vena. The Mother Earth was thinking that the king is sinful personality, so I am not going to produce any grains. I am not going to give my natural uh, productions to all these people. Hmm. So Prithu Maharaj countered all that, saying that now I am the king. Now no more adharma is being followed. So you need to give the natural ingredients for sustaining life in this planet. Mm. So, Supreme Lord is transcendental, his appearance is transcendental, his activities are transcendental, and great sages also, being very advanced, they can bring out specific solutions for particular problems in this life. Mm. And of course, the process of producing the process of getting to a solution is very easy. Mm. Take shelter of Supreme Lord and pray fervently. He will appear. If not in person, He will give that needed guidance by which we can solve the problems in this world. Mm. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj always said that there is only one problem in this material world. Hmm. He used to phrase it in different ways. He used to say that incomplete knowledge of the complete whole, or he will say the only problem is lack of Krishna consciousness. Hmm. The same thing, King Vena is a representation of all the negative qualities in our life. Hmm. And all these negative personifications, unless they are killed, we cannot come to a proper solution. Hmm. So the sages, having seen there is an advantage, although the attachment for Sunita towards Vena is in one sense condemned, but it became to be advantageous because the body is preserved. They took this advantage and churned the body to facilitate a quick appearance of Prithu Maharaj. Hmm. The other process would have been they would have prayed to the Supreme Lord, or take shelter of some yogic process by which the Supreme Lord will appear. But they thought that there is something which is easier available for us. We have that power that by churning the body of Vena, another body can be produced, and we can request Supreme Lord to present before us in that way. So they did it. So it is an advantage of that situation where Sunita has preserved the body of Vena. So in this way, Bhagavatam teaches us various lessons of how to take shelter of Supreme Lord, and how we can solve the situations in our life in a very Krishna conscious way. So we see that although the solution is not immediately achieved, They churned the body of Vena. They saw that this is not what they wanted. When this draft came out, he came out with very, what do you say, negative attributes. They saw that his complexion was black like a crow, legs were short, nose was flat. So they understood that this is not Supreme Lord. They know the features of the Supreme Lord, how Supreme Lord looks. So they understood our problem is still not solved. We still have few more steps. So they again went on churning the body of uh, Vena till the time they achieve success. So when we define what is that we wanted, what kind of shelter we want from Supreme Lord, we have to make that endeavors. If not in one first step, let's go for the few more steps in taking shelter of Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord will definitely benedict those who are sincere. These sages were sincere in their idea of having a saintly king. These sages, they themselves did not wanted to accept the post of king, because Brahmanas will not do the justice of being a king. Because like king sometimes need to take very harsh steps in punishing the citizens. Brahmanas will not be able to do. Brahmanas will forget about seeing others' blood. They will not be able to see their own blood. So this was evident from this pastime when Karna acted as a Brahmana and was taking shelter of Parshuram. And when Karna, from the body of Karna, blood started coming, and he understood that he is not a Brahmana. So Brahmana's role is different, and very rarely you can see that Brahmana can take up a role of a king. Because a king means he should be sometimes very harsh. For upstarts, he should be very harsh. So in this way, the sages felt that we need appearance of Supreme Lord as a kingly force. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a mention various Shakti Avesh incarnations. And there is a mention that Prutu Maharaj was the Shakti Avesh incarnation of Supreme Lord, and the Shakti that was given to this incarnation of Prutu Maharaj was the ruling force. Just like the Narad Muni is also Supreme Lord's incarnation, Shakti Avesh Avatar, and the Shakti which is given to Narad Muni is Bhakti Prachar. And Vyasadeva is also Shakti Avesh incarnation of Supreme Lord, and the Shakti that is given to Vyasa is to compile Vedic literature. So these Shakti Avesh incarnations appear with a specific Shakti force. So Prithu Maharaj was given the Shakti of ruling force because at that time that was what was the need of this living civilization. So this is what I thought we will discuss in today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. If anybody has any questions, any comments, please can do so. Any questions or any comments? So thank you all very much for giving time and opportunity for me to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.